This is Sergeant Dave Matthews at gmail.com with the Remember the Fallen podcast on klrnradio.net, in which every Thursday night I will be voicing for our veterans into infinity. I'm back with vengeance after the survival instincts of an 8-ton rollover accident in the Parwan province of Afghanistan in 2004, where I lost my 19-year-old gunner, Brandon J. Wadman, who was sitting right next to me. Please Google his name to read the whole story. I emerged from a pile of hurt soldiers on Old Kabul Road and returned to the States with even a more enduring tale of perseverance. As I navigate through the riddled and troubled rapids of the VA system, I gain a new perspective that I will share with you with the fever of enthusiasm to all patriots across the windswept fields of America. You see, one of us can be run off, two of us can be disregarded, but a podcast audience, we are a movement. All right, here we are live at the Remember the Fallen YouTube studio in Seminole County, Florida, USA, on the Winter Springs Oviedo line. This is Sergeant Dave reporting in from his isolated studio. Is this COVID-19 8 up or Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? There's a lot going on if you're one of the essential businesses, or depending on the role you take, there's not a lot going on. Let's look at the essentials. For instance, the medical doctors, nurses, practitioners, and everyone in the medical field at that are in a fugazi. Then you have the first responders on how to handle non-compliant citizens. Then you have the truckers moving food, but not TP, to all the grocery stores. Then the workers stocking the shelves non-stop, and so many other essential businesses. And then you have our military, Army strong. Over 50,000 American soldiers have been deployed. Over 4,000 medical doctors and medical personnel. 30,000 National Guard troops that have made over 183,000 COVID-19 medical beds across the country. Army engineers. And the Army goes rolling along. And I'd like to take this point at this time to thank the 715th MP Unit, the National Guard Unit out of Melbourne, Florida. They're working the Orange County Convention Center on this COVID-19. Thank you for your service. Tonight's show is going to be weighing in all this stress. So the non-essential people like myself, we have a different kind of stress called financial stress, right? So all this stress is being built up within us, which brings to point. We all pretty much know that stress can have an acute effect on the human body. When the body is stressed, muscles tense up. Like remember when you left the wire for the first time in Full Battle Rattle, right? Muscle tension is almost a reflex reaction to stress. The body's way of guarding against injury and pain. The fight or flight response. When muscles are taut and tense for long periods of time, this may trigger other reactions of the body and even promote stress-related disorders. Most popular ones are headaches and migraines that are associated with chronic muscle tension in the area of the shoulders, neck, and head. Anybody have that out there? Yeah, probably a lot of you. And then you have the musculoskeletal pain in the lower back and upper extremities. That has been linked to stress, especially job stress. There is also already millions of Americans out there now with these stress responders. In the coming week, you can add another 20 million to the list with the new employment numbers coming out. What do you say we Oscar Mike on these stresses? Next up is the respiratory system, the lungs. Well, it's a known fact now, the lungs are the first and main body organ affected by COVID-19. The novel coronavirus rapidly invades cells in our lungs. So if you already have chronic lung disease or moderate to severe asthma, here's the big three that about 40 to 50% of Americans have at least one. People with severe obesity, and that is the body mass index, BMI, of 40 or higher. Smoking, and moderate to severe asthma. Those are the three. You best heed to the warnings of the governors in your state Here are some of your pre-existing respiratory diseases. Here we go again. Asthma. Asthma. Right now, I live in Florida, and for the last month, there's been pollen all over this place because it's been very dry. Now, if you're a bass fisherman from Jacksonville, you're loving it this time of year, right? But if you have a moderate to severe asthma, you're praying for rain to wash all that pollen down those storm drains. Another pre-existing chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Yeah, my mom has it. She smoked previously for 30 years. And COPD has other members of their squad, which includes emphysema and chronic bronchitis. All right, the next one up is the psychological stressors. Can exacerbate breathing problems for people with pre-existing. Some studies show that acute stress, such as the death of a loved one, which is a lot of that going around with COVID-19, can actually trigger asthma attacks. In addition, the rapid breathing or hyperventilation caused by stress can bring on a panic attack in someone prone to panic attacks. Working with a psychologist to develop relaxation, breathing, and other cognitive behavioral strategies can help. Which brings up tomorrow night's show, Resurrecting Lives, where I have not one, but two doctors, clinical psychologists, covering extreme stressor responses in more of a clinical description. So be sure to come back on klrnradio.net after 8 p.m. every Friday night. Now remember, I am the 18th show to the right of our shows as you track it down, okay? I will see you there. All right, next main body organ that is affected from stress, front and center, cardiovascular. Sounds like a cadence. Here's that term again, acute stress. Stress that is momentary or short-term, such as meeting deadlines. Oh, been there. Being stuck in traffic or suddenly slamming on the brakes to avoid an accident. We've all been there. Causing an increase in heart rate and stronger contractions of the heart muscle with the stress hormones adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, also known the fight or flight response. You know, brothers and sisters of arms, when you leave the Y for the first time, wearing the full battle rattle, yep, that's the feeling. The concern is with the coronavirus on everyone's mind, coupled with the wounds of war, PTSD, and TBI. Will the challenged veteran reach out and call for assistance? Well, I believe so. My next guest, who is not a stranger on this show, is author and founder of Wounded Times, Kathy DeCostas. We call her Chaplain Kathy.
Hey, Dave. There's a lot that's been going on with the veterans and especially, having to isolate. But there's a lot of good stuff that's happening, too.
I know, right? There's either a lot of stuff going on, or, especially if you're an essential business, or if you're not, there's not a lot going on, right? If you're in total isolation and you can't leave the house, what are these veterans doing? I hope they're keeping their mind focused on their health and hope they're exercising. So you kind of wonder, the ones with PTSD, TBI, if they're taking opioids, you kind of wonder what's happening there, huh?
Runs the whole gambit. I mean, you've got some veterans, they were getting out and they were exercising, but the gyms have closed, so they can't go to the gym anymore. And a lot of them, if there's nice weather, they hop on their motorcycles and stuff, but then they have to answer, depending on what state they're in, why they're out. Are fixated on the news, which is not good if they just continually watch that. But hopefully they have things like Netflix and Amazon Prime where they can watch something else. All the experts are saying that it's okay to catch up on the news, but don't watch it all day long because that'll add to depression. Yeah,
you told me even your husband was watching a lot of TV, huh? You had to get him out of the house?
He was watching way too much news. I mean, it's okay to get caught up on it. I mean, we used to love this show called Merlin. It was on Netflix, and we ended up watching 5 seasons in 2 weeks, I think it was, because it was to get him away from watching the news, and then it was trying to find other shows for him to watch. So that's been hard, and getting him out to go for walks. We live in New Hampshire, so there's been a lot of too cold of days. So it's like trying to get him, okay, well, let's why don't you start cleaning out the garage? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It's encouraging him to get off the couch.
A hubby list, not a honeydew list, a hubby list, something a little different, right?
It's definitely a hubby list, yeah, because just sitting there when normally he's very active. He goes to the gym, and he goes with some of the groups that he's with, and we were visiting friends. We can't visit friends anymore because he can't break isolation to endanger them because one of them his health isn't that great.
Let me ask you this: you think the President of the United States should put together a task force for our veteran community, because you know what they're going through right now, obviously, and you think he'll put a task force together or something?
There should have been a task force a long time ago, even before this pandemic, because we know what works. There's been over 40 years of research on what works, and it's not always medication. Some veterans, especially when it's chronic and they've had it for a long time, they do have to be on medication. But there's other therapies that help heal them so they can understand they can take back their lives. That they have some power in all this. But if no one's telling them this, they're just going to settle for what is. And it's depressing thinking this is the way the rest of your life is going to be.
Well, I'm finally seeing the VA making an attempt for meditation and yoga. So the mindfulness meditation. So they're actually having virtual for our veterans, so keep them off the opioids, basically. And if they can get them to sleep, we need to create a sleep hygiene. So they're creating a whole new sleep hygiene for the veterans, so they can use less medication once again. And we're hoping that's going to work. So, do you see an increase of suicide among our veterans due to COVID-19?
That's something we're not going to know for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to consider that there's about 20 million veterans in the country. There's only about 9 million veterans in the VA system. They are not all disabled vets where they are going to the VA for appointments. So, I mean, the statistics are really skewed. Yeah, you've got some like National Guard and reservists. They're not really counted as veterans in most states because they were not deployed into a war zone, but let's say that they were involved in some of the humanitarian missions, and there was some pretty awful things, on some of these humanitarian missions, and they can't be counted as veterans.
Right.
You've got the ones that they didn't receive an honorable discharge. Most of those cases, according to the ones that they have actually, really adjudicated, they turned out they should have been tied to PTSD or TBI.
Yeah, especially in the Vietnam War, Vietnam syndrome, when they didn't even have PTSD. A lot of them got dishonorable discharge, and now they're fighting back to get their honorable discharge adjudicated, because it was basically, they had PTSD, and there was some situations where there was pushback with their commanders and leadership, and the first thing they did was, give them an Article 15 and give them another one, and then they toss them out. And now they're homeless, and they got all this dishonorable discharge, and now these organizations are getting together, which is nice to see. They're helping with their benefits, and one of them is trying to get rid of their dishonorable discharge because they did have PTSD. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Chuck Hagel, he was a Vietnam veteran, and he got wind of a lot of these cases going on, and then he put the push on to try and correct some of these injustices. But the problem is that, in like today's wars, you've got personality disorder. Personality disorder that can pass off as a pre-existing condition.
Right.
And as a pre-existing condition, that makes them not disabled.
Mm.
It's not tied to their service. It means that, you went in with it. And then they can give them, a less than honorable discharge. Or other than honorable, because there's different ratings on not honorable discharges. I mean, that's something that I really wish there was a way that we would know. There's been reports that even on death certificates, a lot of the discretion is left up to coroners, whether it's put down as a veteran or not.
And how do they know? They won't know. And a lot of them don't even have family.
Right.
Well, I got some good fact just from a VFW, BSO guy who told me that, just in case there's someone out there in the audience who's a veteran who has 70% disability, that they can put in an IU claim, which is individual unemployability. If they're seeing a difficult time, they can't get a job, they can put in for IU and get paid up to $2,600 a month as a disability, and they can still work as long as that they don't make more than $1,300 a year. And that's okay, because if they can work, they can do, nobody wants to be a crossing guard or anything, but it keeps them gets them out of the house, or even bagging groceries for Publix, Walmart greeter, or anything like that. So they maybe make $1,200 a year on something simple, part-time job like that, but it gets them out of the house. So I just want to make sure that any veterans out there in the audience that have 70% disability, and you're old enough where you're probably not going to get a job for another year because of the COVID-19. Go ahead, put that claim in. Go to your VSO, your local chapter, either the American Legion or DAV or any one of those chapters, and put your claim in and get it in there as soon as they open, because a lot of people are going to be putting those claims in. Okay, I got another one for you. When the mandated isolation ends, right, and those who are diagnosed with depression, how hard it will be for them to re-engage in meaningful social activity and exercise, to get them back out there. How hard will it be for them?
It depends on their attitude, and it also depends on what kind of social support they have. If they have families, the families are going to have to encourage it. Just like right now, the families have to encourage them to do something, to keep their minds less occupied on what's destroying them, and try to give them something that, empowers them to change their day. It's really fabulous when they start, like I said earlier, is that, reaching out to other veterans, whether, they're calling them up on the phone, because as they're lifting up the veteran they call on the phone, they're lifting up their own emotions. Well, it's helpful both ways.
Yes, I feel very helpful, like a purpose when I help another veteran. Just recently, we're working on a project right now, vetunite.org, putting it together. We just had our first board meeting, and we have an advisory board, and basically we're just starting out, get the new website up. So you want to go to, on my Facebook page, Resurrecting Lives on KLRNradio.net. Go ahead and like that page, and we'll communicate that way as well. And so when I do something for a veteran, like tomorrow, I was really surprised. We got an event in Orange County, believe it or not, downtown by Primrose on Elks Lodge. We're doing the Soldier's Angel event, where we feed 50 pounds of groceries to our veteran community that are challenged right now, that don't have a job. And they set up a drive-through through the Elks Lodge parking lot, and they have their trunk open, so we're not going to get that close with them. So I'm very excited to tape this, to do a little, podcast on it. Very excited just to get out there myself, to get out of my house and do good for the community, especially when it's a veteran community. So you want to go to soldiersangels.com and try to, if you want to donate, they really could use some help with the donations, but I'm going to do some volunteering myself. Me and Team Red, White, and Blue are going to be involved with that. That's my peer support. So as a support system, I have my family, but most of my family's up north, so I don't have that close interaction with my family. So Team Red, White, and Blue is my peer support that gets me going with exercise and social media and stuff like that. So that keeps me going as well. So we want to make sure you put it on your phone, you veterans out there. Go to your app store on your phone and type in Team RWB, Red, White, and Blue, and join the virtual exercises. They're awesome. They keep you motivated. And you also mentioned, Cap, that you're seeing a lot of more veterans calling in for the first time in a long time. They're actually reaching out. So COVID-19 could have a light at the end of the tunnel. Don't you agree?
The hopeful thing is, you can talk about all the doom and gloom and veterans the thing is, the numbers that we're seeing right now indicate that they want to get well. They want to reach out for help because in the VA with their telehealth, there's been a 70% increase in calls to VA telehealth. There's been 200% mental health calls, 12% increase to the crisis line, 20% related to the pandemic. So they're reaching out for help, and that is hopeful. It's hopeful. They're realizing they're not stuck the way they are. There is help out there, and they're reaching out for it. And, for me, since 1982, within this misery, I've never had more hope. And I know it sounds really strange. I've never had more hope that the messages are finally getting through. I'm seeing so much of a change on social media. I mean, aside from, the political stuff on both sides, there is this resurrection of hope. And veterans reaching out to each other, and they're doing Facebook Live, doing that, and they're reaching out, and they're trying to break that isolation where the veterans can stay safe at home being reached. There are more, especially the older generation of veterans, like I said, they're really not online, but they're filling that gap by calling them.
Yeah, our post, matter of fact, we made phone calls. I didn't get a chance to do it because they didn't have the phone numbers, but we reached out on social media, on our post, our VFW post, and they're a very close-knit in Chiliota, so they're very close-knit out there because they all live within a 2-mile radius of that post, So they're kind of like a little redneck, so they like to drink once in a while. They have a lot of fun, and I enjoy that post because they're so connected with each other. So that's one post, I don't concern, but I can see these posts that are in the urban areas that might have a more difficulty because there's a lot of travel involved and a lot of people aren't getting out of the house, So a lot of people walk to that post, and they're not allowed to congregate inside, but they congregate outside on picnic tables, so they still get together on the weekends over there. And the police allow them to do it. So there's some of the police look the other way in certain situations for our veterans, which is good. Yeah, so finally we're having some empathy out there. Maybe the veterans foresee that they're not alone, that the whole population is going through what they're going through with the isolation. So maybe that triggers something, huh?
Well, it's also, I think it's going to help them in the long run because almost everybody in America understands what trauma is. Maybe they don't have PTSD. Maybe their lives can go back to whatever normal was for them, but I think there's going to be this notion about what trauma actually does to a person, and I think there's hope in that too. So maybe more will get mobilized to work on the trauma aspect because when people change, there's a reason for it.
Right, it just doesn't come out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe more people are going to become aware of it. Like I've been looking in different parts of the world because, point me in the group that I'm with, it's international, and, my website and everything gets, international hits. So I've been looking at what all these different countries are doing, and I just participated in something with the Royal College of Psychiatry. And it's fabulous what they're doing. They're getting geared up because they realize that, in the UK, that they're going to have issues with, the healthcare workers. I can only imagine what it's like for them. The constant stress that they're under, and not just stress of dealing with the patients that they're losing and trying to save their lives, but the stress that they're under thinking that they're carrying, this pandemic back home to their families and is claiming their own lives. So then, you have first responders, they're going through hell right now too. So, but like I said, the hopeful thing is that a lot of countries are gearing up, knowing what they're going to have to deal with when this is finally over.
Yeah, I take my hat off to all the medical field right now. I just can't imagine working their 15-hour shifts and just taking all that stress, like you said, and they have no time for themselves, especially if they come home to family members. So my sister's a nurse up in New Hampshire, and they put her in harm's way, and they didn't have the proper PPE, and because her husband is diagnosed with cancer for the last 6 years now. Not doing that great, and she was really concerned of bringing that home to him, and she resigned. She said, "That's it. You can't protect me. You don't have the proper PPE for on my shifts. I'm going to resign," and she did, and it worked out good because she's been able to stay home with him and take care of him, which was needed anyways, because he's at that point right now, and she made the right decision. So a lot of these other brave medical field, they're not making that decision because they're younger, of course, and they're hanging in there because they took that oath. It's like they take an oath like a veteran, like a soldier takes an oath, and they really do want to take care of humanity, and it's just amazing of the stories I'm hearing. Then you hear about the healthcare worker who died of COVID-19, and her last text was so sad. I didn't get to write it down, but it went viral. She put her last text and her last breath, but she said she'd do it again because that was where her passion was, to help people in need. And so we definitely take our hats off to them.
I really think that a crisis, it brings out the worst in people, which we've seen like with disorders and everything else, but it also brings out the best in humanity. You've got these people, especially like the healthcare workers. They took those jobs to save lives, not endanger their own, and guess what? They're still showing up at work. They put out calls, different states put out calls for retired people, retired medical personnel, and they were overwhelmed. The National Guard put out calls, and they were overwhelmed with people stepping up. They had retired. They're willing to put their lives on the line all over again to help.
Right.
Police officers, firefighters, emergency responders, driving ambulances, and just regular citizens just showing up to do what they can. There were calls out for masks, and lo and behold, these people, they just, selling masks like crazy.
Even truck drivers, moving the food around, the people stocking the shelves,
And then when there were reports of truck drivers, especially like, you can only do drive-up services. And like, McDonald's and places like that on the highway. They can't pull their big ring into a drive-through window. So they will go into the drive-throughs, walking up to it because they can't pull a big rig in, and they will refuse service.
Oh, God.
I read a story about a veteran that he's supplying food to truckers for free, lunches for free. And then, in another part of the country, you've got workers at McDonald's. They are leaving their stations, going out to the truck, getting their orders, and bringing it back out to them. Because the rule is you can't walk up to a drive-through window.
Right. Yep.
Right.
I've seen that. Yeah.
You got farmers that they have to dump their milk and dump crops because they can't sell to regular wholesales to sell to the general public because of packaging and their their contracts and everything else that they've been dumping. And a lot of them are stepping up and donating to the food banks. They're calling the food banks and saying, "We've got this, come get it."
Right, I saw that story. Sad, you got to milk the cow. You can't have that cow and that milk too long,
You got to take care of your crops, right?
Yes, yep.
So they're picking the stuff, and instead of dumping it, they're calling their food banks, "Come get it."
Yeah, good. Well, I really want to thank you for your time and your busy schedule, Kat. So is there anything else you would like to mention to our listeners as we get close to tapping out on the show?
Yeah, if you know a veteran, you can contact in any way. Contact him. If you don't have his phone number but you can find his address, send him a card. Just reach out to them. Change his day. Change your day. Change your mood. Change his mood. And I mean, the expression has been used like crazy, but we are all in this together. Just lean on each other.
Yep.
And help each other get through this.
We'll get through it.
We'll get through it.
We'll definitely get through it. All right, Kathy Chaplain Kat, thank you so much for your time, and you stay safe up there in New Hampshire. I miss you down here in Florida. You take care now.
I'm at a point where I do actually miss the warm weather down there. But
yeah, I'm sure you do. All right, take care. Signing out. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, it's getting 0 dark 30 for the show, and before I relax, never and go into rack ops mode, go to Sergeant Dave Matthews at gmail.com. That's SGTDAVEMATTHEWS at gmail.com for suggestions for the next podcast content. And you can always comment me on my Twitter handle, at Heroic Memorials. And you can like my Facebook page, all one word, Remember the Fallen. Well, until all our troops come back, safe from Afghanistan, I will see you tomorrow night, Friday night, my spin-off from this show, Resurrecting Lives. The show's lineup is in alphabetical order, 18th to the right. Share with your patriotic friends. This former ground pounder would appreciate that. All right. Fall out. Pop Smoke out.